Good morning, McKenna. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. You look so beautiful.
Thank you.
Isn't it insane what is going on across this country with these college campuses?
It's scary. I'm out here in Dallas right now, and I saw all over my phone yesterday at UTD out here, University of Texas, Dallas, there was huge protests. A lot of these students got arrested, and then there was a protest out of Quallen County Jail. It's scary.
It really is. And as a college student yourself, are you hearing any of these kind of rumblings at the college that you're going to?
Yeah, there was a lot of students on campus, you have to boycott this place, you have to boycott this place, they put their money in Israel. They're not good people, they don't support Palestine. And I'm just like, we're here for school. Why are we focusing on everything else going on? We need to focus on our degrees and focus on our lives and, growing up and making sure we do the right things. And they're focused on the wrong things.
Well, and protesting on a college campus isn't going to do anything. It's not accomplishing anything. It's not going to change anything. And just like you said, you've got your free time when you're out of school later in the afternoon, in the evening. Go do your things off the college campus in neutral ground, because the college campus is not neutral ground, because there's differing views with the students, and it is absolutely disrupting your education. And, when they talk about insurrection, like what happened at the Capitol and how it was disrupting the normal course of business at Congress and whatnot, it really is kind of insurrections that are happening across our country at the college campuses, because it's disrupting everything that goes on a daily basis at a college, right?
Yeah, it is. It's very disrupting. They say that when everything happened on January 6th, we disrupted, what was going on in office. They're disrupting kids from learning and getting their degrees. And, it's finals time. What if kids miss their finals? They're disrupting everything that goes on campus, and it's disgusting.
Well, and the Civil Rights Act, that went through, this is blatant discrimination against Jewish people, Jewish students, and really Americans in the broad picture. But the fact that they are keeping these Jewish students off campus and throwing so much hate at them, I've heard on several news accounts that if these were Black students on campus who were being harassed by white supremacists, there would be something brought to a stop immediately.
Yeah.
And the fact that these are Jewish students being attacked by these pro-Hamas, pro-Palestinian idiots, and the fact that they want the death to America, I actually think that every one of these foreign students who were involved in this need to be kicked out of school, and they need to be kicked out of this country.
Even look at what happened at U of A a couple days ago. I had an amazing friend down there, Tex, who is Jewish, a Jewish Republican, and he got called every name in the book down there. But that man is so strong, he stood out there all day and, didn't let them get to him. But he said I couldn't even imagine being a Jewish student on campus right now, having to have all this come to you, and, you being threatened. You're scared for your safety and your life when all this is going on down there. It needs to be put to a stop.
And it's very scary because these people are unpredictable.
They are. I applaud those UNC boys who protected that flag the other day. And, to see those pictures, that's an amazing sight to see. You had these brothers come together and protect our country and protect our flag.
Right. And they're doing things that grown men sometimes won't even do in this country.
Nope.
And these young conservative minds that are on college campuses understand we can't allow this to keep going keep going on and on and on and on.
Yep.
It took so long at Columbia for the president there at Columbia to even ask for New York Police Department to come in, which I think was a huge mistake because, in Austin, Texas, and in Indiana and a few other places, Florida, they handled it, man, immediately and went in there and just ripped their camps apart and arrested all of them. And that's the message that needs to go out to these people.
It is.
And, I was listening yesterday to this man speaking, saying, this is, and he's got like some underground kind of information coming to him. He said, this is a test run for October of this year. This is a test run by these people to see what kind of resistance they were going to get from the police, how they were going to respond to them protesting and causing this chaos. So they're planning something big for October, right before the elections, to disrupt this country.
They always do.
Yeah, it's pretty sad that, they claim that if Trump is put back in office, that he's going to, ruin the democracy. We are a republic, and if they're so afraid of democracy being ended and ruined and the end of democracy, why are they trying to stop the very thing that makes us so unique, is these free elections?
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's obvious that they want to control the narrative and control who's in power, and that is the scariest part of all of this stuff that's going on in this country.
Yes.
So you work at Turning Point.
I do.
And I wanted to talk today and let my viewers hear about Chase the Ballot.
Yeah, so Turning Point Action is a 501c4 nonprofit organization, and we have this amazing program called Chase the Vote. So it's not a secret that in 2020 the left beat us at the ballot game. They were strategic with their efforts on key states and expanding their ballot chasings in critical battleground states. So this year, Turning Point Action is launching it is the first conservative ballot chasing operations. We're focusing on battleground states. So, Wisconsin, Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, these states that really need our help. And we have a new approach to contacting voters who have received mail-in ballots to encourage them to vote. So we're not going to be going out and door knocking and be like, hey, do you have your ballot? Are you voting? No, we are putting hundreds of these ballot chasers in strategic areas and having them gain a relationship with their neighbors. The first time you talk to them, hey, my name is McKenna, I'm your fellow neighbor, get to know them on a personal level, and then later on, hey, do you need help with your mail-in ballot? Just helping them in the right steps to make sure that they vote, because there are a lot of disengaged voters, especially in Arizona, people who have not voted, in an election in a couple years. And we want to make sure that we get them familiar with the steps to make sure that they still can vote, and just do it on a friendly level. We're not going out there pushing that we're Turning Point Action. We're going out there of, hey, I'm your friendly neighbor and I want to help you vote.
Right, because that's really what we all are. Whether
Yes.
you're a Turning Point, or whether you're with your legislative district, or whether you're with any organization, the importance of everybody getting out and voting this year is absolutely the most important thing that we can talk about, because it's going to be the end of our country if we don't get the right leadership put in there.
And the thing with the GOP is the GOP door knocks usually right before voting period, a month before the election. It's not really focused on efforts to where we engage with them and our voters and our neighbors consistently, whereas we already have people out there. It's months in advance. You have to start this early on if you want to win an election. You have to start months before, not try to push everything into a 1 month span, because you're not going to win that way.
No, you're not. And, the one thing that I really liked about the Trump administration, and during his, campaigning, the second time, because the first time he really didn't have it all put together, but all the coalitions that he had put together, Veterans for Trump, Blacks for Trump, Asians for Trump, all Latinos for Trump, all of these groups, Moms for Trump, all of these groups. But in essence, I think there should be a bigger coalition called Americans for Trump. because that's what we all are. You can split them down into those little groups, but really what we all are is Americans for Trump. And I was really sad because as the election happened and they said Biden won, I was talking to some of the people within these coalitions saying we can't let these coalitions die. We have to keep them going and turn the name from Women for Trump to Americans for Trump, and group all of these coalitions together and keep everybody engaged, because this is amazing, the amount of people that we pull together. So Turning Point doing this sort of thing will create, I don't want to say a coalition, but create a brotherhood, a sisterhood of people who are concerned about those that don't vote, and to encourage them.
So like we do have coalitions too. We have a Moms Coalition, a Latinos Coalition, Black American Coalition, Farmers, Faith, Healthcare. We have all these different coalitions, and our field reps are doing such an amazing job at getting these put together and bringing, all of these people together at an event and, helping them and just being around them. But Chase the Vote is definitely a great initiative that we did need to make sure, we're reaching everybody. It's something that needed to be done, and we're doing the work that needs to be done.
And it's not ballot harvesting the way that the Democrats do it.
So we are not harvesting at all. We are not having somebody hand over their ballots to us. We are strictly doing chasing, where voters are strategically tracked in their neighborhoods and their precincts, and we encourage and assist them to vote.
So what if somebody was handicapped and couldn't get to a post office or didn't trust the Postal Service and wanted their ballot delivered to a polling place?
I think, with the handicap situation, with all of our ballot chasers, our initiative is to, gain a relationship with them. If they can't get there, we can take them. You're building a friendly relationship with your neighbors in these areas where there's low propensity voters, and we're helping them with whatever they need to make sure that their vote gets in. We're there for them every step of the way. And I think that's actually a great point. If somebody's handicapped and can't get there and doesn't trust, the post office, let's take them,
Right.
Help them.
Well, and I had kind of a disturbing phone call with a friend of mine from Texas, Kathy.
Yes.
She ordered a bracelet from Missoula and it never came in the mail. And so she contacted the company and they refunded her money. A couple days later, she ordered a bracelet that she found that she liked from Houston, which is about 2 hours from her there in Texas. It never came. She tried to get a hold of the Postal Service. There wasn't any real big national number that she could call. She ended up finding a phone number for the post office up in Missoula. This is a little long story, but bear with me. And they told her that the amount of parcels and packages and letters being lost by the United Postal Service right now is through the roof. And it's this new program that a computer program that they implemented within the Postal Service. And I don't know if you've seen, or if any of your viewers have seen those commercials about the United Postal Service, where they have like all these wheels and all these trucks and they're going all over and they're saying, we're so much better. Our new systems are up and running. When in fact, the new system has decimated the Postal Service. So this is what this person up in Missoula was talking to her about. And Kathy said, what are we going to do about the mail-in ballots? And the woman said, this is a huge concern of mine personally, as I'm watching what's happening at the United States Postal Service. She called somebody at the Houston post office, talked to them, same kind of conversation. Then she went in person to the little podunk town by her and talked to the person there in the post office, and same story from them. So tell me, McKenna, that this isn't pre-planned to have the Postal Service blow up and losing all kinds of stuff right before a presidential election that is so important to this country.
I mean, it seems like it. In the past couple of years, I've never had problems with, my postal services and getting my mail. And in this past year at Grandma's house, we've had so many problems. Our mail goes missing. Our mail is going to different houses. We're not receiving packages. It's weird how all these problems seem to happen right before a very, very crucial, important election. I mean, last election we had COVID. This election now, mail's going missing.
Yeah. And on top of that, if you've got these paid protesters and agitators out in our communities, whether it's on a college campus or wherever they decide they need to go next. If you've got that on top of, postal issues with mail-in ballots, I mean, this could be quite the chaotic year, which I've been predicting that for quite a while, because I think it's going to be a crazy summer with the illegal aliens who are here in our country, because as they're being shoved out of these shelters, as cities and states are running out of money to provide shelter and food for these people, they're taking over parks, and they're going to be demanding food. They're going to be starving. They're going to be desperate.
Oh, they are. I've seen it up in New Mexico.
Yeah. And desperate foreigners, desperate bad players who've come across our border will become violent.
Yep.
When it comes to surviving. And so, I think the Biden administration better plan to have a bunch of flights on standby for these people who are so fed up that they just want to go home, and fly them all home. But so I just think so many things are going to come together this summer and this fall, and it is going to be the most chaotic election we have ever seen.
Oh, 100%. I think it's going to be more chaotic than the 2020 election. And
Yeah.
we know how much that took out of, every single Republican in the country.
Yep. Well, yesterday, the day before yesterday, I put out mail on my mailbox here at the house, a piece of mail that had a check in it and some thank you notes that I had written to my campaign donators. And, so watched the mailman come and get it. And later on that afternoon, bang, bang, bang on my front door. It was my neighbors. The mailman had taken my mail that I was sending out and ended up putting it in my neighbor's mailbox.
Jeez.
I mean, thank goodness he brought it to me, because a lot of people would just open their trash can and throw it in there. But this is a United States Postal Service employee. And so,
have you had the same mailman for 10 years?
No, this is a new guy. The one we had, I could trust with anything and everything. And he was the most friendly guy. This guy has earplugs, earpods in. And
that's right.
Even when I'm out front and say hi to him, he just has his head down and never responds to any of us. But my point being, they don't really care about their job.
No.
And so I didn't trust to put it back out there again. So I had to drive to the post office and put it in the mailbox there, because that was the only way that I felt it would go out. But after having that conversation with Kathy, now I'm concerned, is any of that going to get anywhere where it belongs?
Who knows?
Anyway, so when is Turning Point actually launching this program?
So we already have. I think we're on our third or fourth training right now. We've been having a lot of trainings down at HQ with ballot chasers. We're actually training our Wisconsin managers this week so we can get them back to Wisconsin and get the program up and running in Wisconsin. I know in Arizona,
you're kind of hitting the swing states.
Yes, okay. We are hitting the swing battleground states as hard as we can. Arizona, we already have a lot of people out there. And when I tell you these ballot chasers are the most determined people that I've ever met, they are determined to do whatever they can to save, their cities, their neighborhoods. We get great feedback from them. It's so rewarding, because I've been with Turning Point. I was a field rep there. And I've been, volunteering with them since 2020. To see where we were in 2020 to where we now are in 2024, it's rewarding. I mean, our company has grew. We are doing so much more to save our country. And just to hear all the feedback from even people that run into, a field rep or a ballot chaser, I'm getting texts and emails from them, and they're saying, this is amazing. This is the work that needs to be done.
Yeah, most definitely. The engagement out with the public. So these people here in Arizona, like in Wisconsin, in these different areas, you're going to rely on their intelligence, from behind the scenes kind of stuff, as to what legislative districts and what areas you guys need to go in more heavily than others, because obviously you have voting records.
Yes.
And you can see in a certain legislative district here in Arizona where there was a lower Republican turnout compared to the registered Republicans in that legislative district. And so, and exactly who the people are. So if you don't have people who are in those neighborhoods Are you going to have them like making phone calls to them? Is any of that going to be going on?
Well, the great thing is we actually launched a TP Action app. And so I have it right here. So even, you can help, Bailey can help, anybody in this country can help. So you just go on our TP Action app that we have, and you can actually start door knocking in your neighborhood and beyond. You can door knock from anywhere in the country to help us, get some feedback. So, you press voters near me. Here's a voter that's right near my house that I'm at right now. You go on there, you click their information, and you just say, "Hi, my name is, McKenna. I'm a volunteer with Turning Point Action." And you just ask them questions. It's survey questions, super easy, and they're Republicans in your neighborhood. This will help us get more data too.
So what is the website for the app, or what is the app?
It's called TP Action.
TP. And is it in their store?
Yeah, it's in the Google, I think the Google store is what it's called, and then the App Store on iPhones.
Okay. You can get this. I'm putting it in the comments. You can get this in the Google store.
Yeah.
Google store, and is it on iPhones?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so I put that out in the comments so people will see that. And then they just need to sign up with their email and create a password and be able to get into it.
Yeah, you can door knock from anywhere in the world. If, say, I go to Florida tomorrow to travel to go visit, my uncle, I can go door knock in his neighborhood. You can do it from anywhere, and it'll show, a handful of voters that are around you, and you can go introduce yourself.
Right.
Help them ask questions. If they have any questions, answer those for them. It's honestly such an amazing tool to have, especially, for people who are just wanting to vote and volunteer and to just help us.
Well, and here's the thing. The Democrats are so ballsy and so uninhibited, and the way that they go out and door knock their fellow Democrats and whip them up into a frenzy about things, and of course tell lies about what's happening. I'm watching our representatives here in this district, watching them lie about what's really happening down at the Capitol.
Oh, yeah.
And what a certain bill really means, and they lie to fit their narrative to get these uninformed voters to vote for them. But what was my point?
There's so many points.
Oh my goodness, that whole thing went out the window. No, watching the Democrats whip all these people up into a frenzy, and conservatives tend to be a little more reserved and a little more afraid to get out there and speak to their neighbors because, oh, maybe they don't agree with me. You got to have a backbone, people, and you're going to be surprised. And I'm telling you, this is the truth. You're going to be so surprised when you're door knocking. When I was getting my petition signed, how many people are lined with you, and how many people feel the same way you do. And this app is going to show you registered Republican voters. You're not going to be knocking on Democrat doors. You're not going to be knocking on independent voter doors. Does it show independent voters on there registered?
I don't believe so. But the thing is it has their name.
Right.
So when they answer the door, hey, it's Kathy here.
Yeah.
Make sure you're talking to the right person. It's no secret. I'm not shy around you guys. I'm very talkative, loud. But when I first started door knocking, I was shy. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't want to talk. Like, what if I run into somebody who yells at me? But after that second door, I was like, okay, let's go. Let's go do some more. You're talking to people who 99% of the time have the same views as you and line up with what you believe.
Right. And if you're so inclined to do something like this, if this is how you feel that you can help in the 2024 election to help your conservative fellow Americans get elected into office, then get a hold of Turning Point and find out who you can contact in your state or city that maybe you can get hooked up with them to get a little training, to get a little experience, and go out door knocking with them and see how it's done. Because Turning Point Action people are all over this country, folks.
Yes, and like what you said for the training, I had a lady call me the other day who just wanted to get involved volunteering. door knocking with us, and I explained the app, and then I said, wait, we have a field rep next to you. Let's put together a training, on how to door knock, how to use our app, about Chase the Vote. Let's make you guys have more knowledge than what you already have, so we can be powerful together. Our field reps are willing to do any trainings with people on door knocking, our app, on Chase the Vote, just to learn a little bit more about us.
Right. And even if you live a little remotely, know that there's the power of the computers and there's the power of Zoom calls, and these Turning Point Action volunteers and people who work for them, they know how to get this kind of training to you no matter where you are. So don't be afraid to reach out, and don't be afraid to step up. Be brave.
Yes.
Be a brave American in 2024. And when things become successful in November, you're going to be able to be very proud of yourself and say, I helped this year. I helped these candidates get elected because I came out of my shell and I started going door knocking. And when I was doing it for my petitions, my sister Barbara was like freaking out because I was door knocking all by myself. And she was like, you better be safe. But the one thing that I can say about knocking on Republicans' doors is you don't feel unsafe. Let's put it that way. I mean, I ran into a couple kooks who just were absolutely anti-Trump.
Yes.
And, wouldn't have anything to do with me. But, conservative people are nice. They're respectful. They're polite. They're, generous. They don't have a problem having a conversation if they know the person they're having the conversation with is of the same mindset than them. But the thing that I do find with conservatives is they're afraid to speak up out in public because they're afraid of being attacked verbally by somebody for their beliefs. And folks, we have a right to how we feel about things, just like those kooks have a right to how they feel about things. And we can't keep backing down and acting like our feelings and our opinions and our political beliefs aren't as important as anybody else's in this country.
Yes.
So I'm not going to keep you on the whole hour, McKenna. I know that it's like sometimes we struggle for things to say, but I truly, truly appreciate you coming on. And I hope everybody takes heed of this. I hope they go to their phones and look up the TP Action app, whether it's in the Google store or the Apple store, and get this app put on your phone and call Turning Point. Reach out to them. You can send an email if you go on their website, Turning Point Action, and send an email to them asking for help for wherever you are it's called Chase the Vote.
Yes.
So just say, I'm inquiring about Chase the Vote. I live in such and such a city and such a state. Can you please have somebody call me? And they will have somebody call them, right, McKenna?
Yes.
Okay. So, and if any of you want to talk directly to my beautiful granddaughter, because she knows so much about this, put something in the comments and I'll get you guys connected so that McKenna can kind of go over things and train you or get you in touch with somebody who can train you. So I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day, sweetheart.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming on, and we'll talk to you soon.
Of course.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. So I wanted to go ahead. My dog thinks because I said goodbye, have a wonderful day. Those are cue words to my border collie that the podcast is over. Come here. Say hi to everybody. Say hi to everybody. This is Bella. This is when you hear squeaking her toys and chewing on bones, and now she's trying to type on the keyboard. But when she hears me say, I hope you have a good rest of your day and all those words, it's like her cue that the podcast is over. And so she's a herder, so she starts barking and trying to get me to get out of here. She's a crazy dog. Anyway, so it's really, really important. And I can't stress enough about this whole thing of getting involved and being unafraid and getting out there. Do something. The biggest thing that I can tell you as a Republican is here in Arizona, we have legislative districts. I don't know how it is. I'm sure other states are the same, but we have legislative districts. And you need to go on your voter registration card and you need to find out what your legislative district is. and you need to search that legislative district for your area. There's monthly meetings, folks. There's monthly meetings for your legislative district. So there may be, 50 precincts that are within a legislative district here in Arizona. So and usually precincts are about 100 people, 150 people. And so you can get involved with those people in your precinct. Those are your neighbors. And the TP Action app will actually show you, like McKenna said, when you pull it up, I've been on there, and it will show you immediately, like, okay, there's 10 fellow Republicans within, 2 blocks of you. And so you'll be able to just go door knocking to these people. I don't know if the TP Action app has phone numbers, because I know the app that I used for door knocking had their names, had their phone numbers, had the address. And the nice thing is, when it's 2 people living at a house, and it's Kathy and Tim, and a female answers the door, you're able to say, Kathy, and they're like, yes. And you're like, hi, I'm Mary Ann Mendoza, and I'm here to talk to you to see if you would sign the petition to get me on the ballot. But when you say their first name, it's like you already know them. It's not some cold knock. And really, a lot of times I found it was really important when I knocked on the door and they answered. The first thing I said was, I'm not selling anything, I promise. And then I'd say, Kathy, and they'd say yes. And then I would be able to go into my little spiel, and they'd relax, because everybody gets their shackles up when they answer the door and they think somebody is there to sell them something. So that's kind of an icebreaker, because a lot of times when I would say that, I'm not here to sell you anything, I promise, they would kind of laugh about it. But in reality, that's how we all are, right? We don't want to deal with people who are there to sell something to us. So that's one way that you can get involved. And get involved, folks. I'm imploring you to get involved. Do something that makes a difference this year. I know I had done a podcast, and my podcast yesterday was actually pre-recorded the night before, because I had a 9:30 appointment yesterday. So I was talking about the college campuses, and unfortunately, from the time that I taped that podcast to the time that it was shown at 10 a.m. yesterday morning, all those arrests and the New York Police Department there at Columbia University, all that stuff happened in between. And so it probably looked kind of crazy that I wasn't speaking about that yesterday on the podcast. But it is absolutely insanity to me, and that this is going on our college campuses, like I was talking about with McKenna. But I'm watching the news this morning, and of course they're up in Portland arresting all of these people who are doing the same thing up there. And they actually had these kids, I kid you not, of course they had these those welder masks kind of things on, but they had those plastic trash cans that they had cut up into force, and they were carrying it in front of them like a shield, and they were charging the police line with these plastic shields. Like who are these people, right? And they were saying on the newscast, it's going to be interesting to see their arrest records. Number one, to see their age. And number two, to see if they even live in Portland, because that's the biggest thing. A lot of those agitators that were arrested during the Summer of Love, they didn't even live in Oregon or Washington up at the Seattle protests and stuff. They lived out of state. And they're brought in to do this sort of thing. And there was a company, I can't remember the name of it, but basically something like Crowds Created or something. It was a company that actually you could get a hold of and say, I need to pay you to have 200 people show up at this event to make it look like it's, well attended. And they called this guy and said, are you involved with paying any of these protesters? And he said, no, we're staying away from any of these protests that have to do with Palestine, Hamas, any of those types of things. Our company will have nothing to do with. But he said, you can tell that it is actually an organized paid event going on. This dude knows, because he actually does it himself. But the biggest thing he said was all of the tents looking alike. Obviously somebody's gone into Sam's Club or Walmart and bought, 50 tents and brought them for these morons to be sleeping in. But the other thing that I found so hilarious was the leader of the group there at Columbia, and she's a PhD student there at Columbia University. She comes out, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, just listening to her talk, you are the most clueless woman I have seen speak as a agitator, protester, radical, whatever you are. And she's saying that we're demanding food. We need food and water. And they're like, well, why would you think that would be provided for you? These students have paid for their food cards, and the college should be providing this for them. Well, not if you've holed yourself up in Nathaniel Hall, Hamilton Hall, what was it? Anyway, not if you've holed yourself up like that and barricading it and breaking windows to get into it. You're now radicals on the college campus, and we're not going to allow you to have anything. So of course she's crying and moaning, oh, you'd rather see us get dehydrated and starve to death. You should have thought about this before you barricaded yourself in there, right? And the people who plan these sort of things and pay these people to do it, they don't think about food and water. They just need these people to create chaos. So none of this is very well thought out. So if this is a dry run, a practice run for what they're going to be pulling off this summer and probably really big time in October, it's going to be interesting to see how they handle that sort of thing. But I'm telling you what, if we don't have law enforcement across this country, if we don't have the mayors and the governors and the college presidents all on the same page, because these protests this summer and into the fall are going to extend way further out than just college campuses. And it's going to be very easy for these organizations that pay for protesters. It's going to be very easy for them to pay illegals because those people need money. So you can probably guarantee there's going to be a bunch of them out there, and they're not even going to be speaking English. They're just going to be having all these signs that were pre-made given to them to hold up and cause whatever chaos, refuse to leave. And here's the sad part about these college campuses. And again, what's happening up in Portland right now, these people know. In fact, one of the agitators, I don't know which college it was at, I just remember him screaming, we'll be back out in a couple hours, just like the subway criminals are. It must have been in New York. They know. They know that crime pays. They know that being a criminal pays. You know, you're out burglarizing stores and causing chaos and stealing things and, carjacking and attacking on the subway and grabbing somebody's purse and getting money for the next few days for food. It pays, folks. They're taking a gamble that they're even going to get caught. They're taking a gamble that New York Police Department's even going to show up because they've just quit trying to stop the crime and prevent the crime and going to talk to the victims. They've just stopped doing it. I can't even imagine what it would be like right now to be a law enforcement officer in the United States of America. I feel super bad for the Border Patrol agents. And when I was talking to Tom Homan a couple weeks ago, he was telling me, the suicide rates are up with these Border Patrol agents. The frustration level is at an all-time high. And he said they just feel like they're useless Border Patrol agents because there's a calling, folks, for these type of people. There's an inner calling and an inner strength with these people to do this sort of a job. And so when they go through the training and they take the oath and they're given the uniform and their first day on the job, they're so excited to be able to do something to protect this country and protect our borders. It's almost like the military, on a step down basis, but they're protecting our country, right, at the borders. These men and women have a special calling that's in them that's not in a lot of us. Everybody has a special calling in life, but these people feel like they've gone through the training, they're living out their lifelong dream of what they wanted to do to protect their country, and now they're given shifts of being bus drivers and transporting these people around to be processed, or making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, or helping change diapers on babies. This is what they're reduced down to. And the same with law enforcement. They're shackled. Their wrists are tied. And it's people like Mayor Adams in New York. I think he's finally seeing the light. But it's crappy mayors like him and governors and city council, but it's mayors and city councils that run the police departments. So they're the ones who make up the rules of how their police departments are going to be able to behave themselves, or go out and conduct business, or what they can and can't go out and do. That's why local elections and having a conversation with the candidates for mayor, and having a conversation with the candidates for your city council, you better be asking the important questions. How do you feel about law enforcement, protecting our laws, upholding our laws? Have those conversations. And if your police departments in the city council allows you, when there is a change happening and they're bringing somebody in new to be the police chief, and they've got community engagement things where these candidates are going to be there, get there. Talk to these candidates for police chief. Find out where they stand, and then have that conversation with your mayor or city council, and get the community to rise up and say no to this particular candidate, because this particular candidate is going to be bringing in sanctuary policies into our cities and communities. We don't want him as police chief, but you have to know, if a police chief candidate is all about sanctuary cities, and you haven't looked into the mayor candidates, the city council candidates, the people who are on the city council, if you haven't looked into them, if their bottom line is sanctuary policy, pro-sanctuary policies, they're the people who will be directing that police chief, even if that police chief is anti-sanctuary. You don't realize as you're younger, and when you've got so many responsibilities, raising families, your jobs, you and your husband are working and making sure you have a roof over your head and food on the table, you don't pay attention to politics as much as when you're later in life and you're retired and you've got some more time to look into this sort of thing. And again, like I said the other day on my podcast, if you're retired and if you have the time to look at this sort of thing and bring awareness to your family and friends of somebody running for city council, of somebody running for mayor. We got some terrible candidates running for mayor here in Mesa, and we got to make sure they don't get into office. Same with city council. We need new blood. We need a changing of the guard. We need people who understand the stifling policies that this city council and this mayor has had on Mesa as a community. They have a 2050 plan, for the future land use. I mean, Mesa's landlocked at this point, Mesa, Arizona, but the 2050 plan. And of course, mixed into all of that is that 15-minute city stuff. And, it's less than a mile from my house where they're going to be creating this community. And you can't drive, you can't have a car. There's not even going to be any parking places at the apartments and high rises that they have there for people to live in. You're going to have to come out of your cul-de-sac. That's what it's called, the cul-de-sac. Come out of the cul-de-sac and use the light rail, have Uber pick you up on the corner, or have family and friends come and pick you up, or use the buses. This is what this city council and this mayor have been pushing. And yes, you do have a terrible mayor and city council down there in Tucson, Laura. And that's what's going on here in Mesa. So and the weeds kind of tend to work themselves out of situations. There's been some candidates that have dropped out, some candidates that have gone by the wayside. It's just like, so the Maricopa County Sheriff race, Jerry Sheridan, thank goodness Joe Arpaio's not running. He kind of makes a mess of things, and he's beyond his prime. He's done a great job in the past, but Joe Arpaio doesn't need to be sheriff of Maricopa County. Jerry Sheridan's my guy. You got Frank Milstead, who was the previous Mesa police chief when Brandon was killed, and he went on to DPS. And, there's been some scandals surrounding him. He's running for sheriff. Frank, go away. Jerry Sheridan's the dude. He's the guy who's going to get the job done. Jerry Sheridan's going to bring back the 287G program, where the sheriff's department works hand in hand with ICE. We have to pray and hope that Trump gets back into office so that Tom Homan comes back, and they bring back the ICE teams that go into our communities and pick up the convicted felons, the illegal felons, and deport them out of this country. Pray that Trump is back to where we've got a border again. We have to pray for these sort of things to happen. We have to get out and talk to our neighbors and our friends and our family. You have to be bold, assertive, and unafraid, folks. The time for being scared and not wanting to have your opinion out in public. You don't have to stand on a soapbox in the middle of a mall and start shouting your political beliefs, but don't be afraid to talk to your neighbors and friends. I have a neighbor who lives across the street from me, and he is an illegal. Love him and his family. I mean, they are the model family. They both work. His daughter's been in the military. He's the kindest man. We are on complete opposite spectrums politically. He hated Trump when I was supporting him, and we had many conversations standing out front because he said Trump's going to deport us all. But and I've said this before on my podcast. My neighbor is the kind of guy that I think Congress and our elected officials need to be working on to make sure that they have a future in America, because they've proven themselves. They want to be here. They're vested. I think the wife owns a cleaning company, but they're vested in the community. Their daughter was in the military and went to basic training and is in the military and is part of the group of people who protect our country. Those are the kinds of people that Congress should be paying attention to. And to think that, Biden is talking about bringing how many Palestinian refugees over here and bringing them into the country? These people lie. We don't have any background, any ability to do a background check on them. It's the most insane thing to think that you're going to bring Palestinians here as refugees and offer them asylum. But my neighbors who've lived here for how long and are productive and are great people who love their country, love this country, this government isn't going to help them. What's wrong with this picture? It's just not right. Things are so backwards. Things are so out of control. And the saddest thing about what I do when I'm doing all this research and looking into things is it gets to a point where and I made this analogy a while ago. It's like I'm standing in front of a maze, a corn maze, and there's 550 entrances to this corn maze. And I don't know which one to start in. And that's the way the mess our country's in. And when you get into politics and you get elected into office and you're going in there with some great ideas, where do you start? You're standing in front of this maze with 550 entrances. Where do you go first? There's problems everywhere. It's deeper than we know. It's scarier than we know. And I don't know if any of you ever watch any of the James O'Keefe videos, but he's just come out with one in the last day or so that they're actually talking to a CIA guy. And he's just spilling his guts to this chick that he's out to dinner with and talking about how they were keeping information from Trump on purpose. The higher ups, and there were some names that I was pretty surprised at. The higher ups did not want information going to Trump, the president of the United States. This is the CIA, folks. When I was growing up and coming into, realizing what this world was about, I was always under the belief that the FBI and the CIA could be trusted, that they cared about the United States, that they cared about our country. And it's the furthest thing from the truth. That's one of those entrances into the corn maze, isn't it? It's just, it's scary. And we've got to pray for this country. We have to make sure that our neighbors and friends get out there and vote. And we need to be voting for the right people. I'm going to cut off a few minutes early today, but thank you all for joining me. I hope the information that my granddaughter was able to provide about Chase the Vote was helpful. And again, if any of you have any questions, please put them in the comments here underneath this video, and I will get back in touch with you and try and get you connected with whoever I can, with my granddaughter and other people at Turning Point Action, so that you can become more involved. Again, thanks for joining, and I hope you have a great weekend. I'll see you on Tuesday. Bella says bye too.